So much of, I think, what needs to happen in the conservative movement these days is courage. Courage to respond to the threats and the reactions of the left, courage to stand on principle, courage to offer new ideas to new challenges. And I'm going to talk a little bit later tonight about family policy, and I have to, tell you a little bit of a story, which is the last time that I spoke about family policy in Washington, D.C. was, I think, 3 years ago. And my remarks were picked up by the Washington Post. And one of the arguments that I made in that speech is that we should care about the fact that there aren't enough American families. There aren't enough babies being born in our country. And of course, the Washington Post said that when I said there weren't enough American babies being born, what I must have meant, what I had to mean, is there weren't enough white American babies being born. And it was one of the first introductions in my life to really how vicious the media could be. I'd been criticized by the press before, but when those remarks were interpreted by the Post in that way, I lost business contacts, I lost investors. It actually affected my life materially. And what it made me realize is two things. First of all, courage is really important. And second of all, courage isn't possible without good friends and friendship. And so many of the people in this room, I even looking out at you now, I see so many good friends who have helped me be courageous in this moment in our country's history. It's so necessary and so important. So thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for being leaders in this movement that all of us care about so much. So I want to talk just a little bit about this concept of the American dream, and I see this clock staring at me like a ticking time bomb. So I'll try to be short in my remarks. I didn't have too much to drink, so I should be able to keep on time tonight. But the American dream is not about the stuff that I think the media tells us that it's about. It's not about fancy degrees. It's not about best-selling books. It's not about a lot of wealth and a lot of power and a lot of privilege. To me, the American dream is about living a good life in your own country. The American dream of my mamaw, who did not graduate from high school, and the woman who really made me and gave me so many of the opportunities that I've been able to have in my life, she did not care what I did. She did not care where I went to school. She did not care how much money I made. She just wanted me to be a good husband and a good father. She wanted me to be able to provide my kids the things that I didn't have when I was growing up. And I'm proud to say that Mamaw's American dream for me has actually been realized. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I've got a beautiful wife, the love of my life. I've got 2 beautiful boys. And I think, oh my God, I should have been a statistic. But in this country, in this place of ours, I was able to live my dreams and have some of the same opportunities that Mamaw wanted for me. And I didn't think even when I was a teenager this would happen. I didn't think that I'd be able to build a business in my hometown. I didn't think, most of all, that I would be able to provide my children and my wife the things that I didn't have growing up. That's the American dream that we have to fight for in this country. And I worry a little bit that when people hear that word, the American dream, that phrase, their eyes sort of glaze over. Because the way that it's been taught to by so many establishment Republican politicians is that the American dream is the dream of Mitt Romney. It's private jets, it's fancy businesses, it's a lot of money, but that's not the American dream that most Americans actually occupy. They just want to live a good life in their own country. Now, this is more complicated than it sounds. As all of us know, we care a lot about the American dream, but what does it actually mean? Well, to me, it means 2 critical categories of things. The first is that it means if you work hard and play by the rules, you can support a middle-class family on a single wage. Good jobs that pay a good wage for people who work hard and play by the rules. That's the first component. And it's that simple thing. It's why we care about our immigration policy, which undercuts the wages of American workers right now. It's why we care about our trade and manufacturing policies, why we don't want the Chinese to build their middle class on the backs of the American middle class, because we want our own people to be able to earn a good wage so long as they work hard and play by the rules. But it's also cultural, and that's where I'm going to focus my remarks tonight, not because it's the only thing that matters, but because I've only got 24 minutes and 52 seconds, and I can only talk about so much. Now, the cultural component of this is that to live a good life in your own country, you have to actually feel respected, and you have to be able to teach your children to honor and love the things that you were taught to honor and love. Now, think about my mamaw, who did not graduate from high school, as I said earlier. She was not an educated woman by definition, but she knew by name every single battle that General George S. Patton fought and won in North Africa. To the day that she died, she taught me to believe that we came from something proud. We were the people who landed in Normandy and defeated the Nazis in Europe. We were the people who put the first man on the moon. We were the people that defeated the Soviets in Europe. American patriotism to her wasn't just flag waving and 4th of July parades, as important and fun as those things could be. American patriotism was about appreciating where you came from so you could know where you were going. That, to me, is what's at risk in the culture wars that we find ourselves fighting today. The left isn't just criticizing our country. It's not just making us ashamed of where we came from. It's trying to take our very sense of national pride and national purpose away from us, because you can't have one without the other. If you don't know where you came from, you will have no idea where you're going. When they take us away from that sense of pride in our own history, they make us completely unable to direct where we're going to go in the future. That's what this is about. It's not about correcting systemic racism or systemic wrong. It's about making us easier to control. It's about making us ashamed of where we came from. We, the people right in this room, have to fight against it. But I have to be honest with you, the culture war that we fight in this country, I worry that many conservatives, even many conservatives in this room, that we underappreciate the challenge that we face. Because the way the culture war is being fought, it's not just about social pressure. They don't just make you ashamed to believe certain things. They don't just tell you that you're not allowed to teach your children that the founding generation was something to be proud of. What they teach you is that if you dare go astray of progressive orthodoxy, we're going to make you pay. We're going to punish you. We're going to hit you where it counts, which is in your wallet. That is what the culture war is about. Another way of putting it is that the culture war in this country is a class war. And I mean that in two ways. The first way is that it is a war against middle and working class people. You look in the Democrat Party or the Republican Party, the most patriotic people, the best and most devoted to the country, whether they're black, white, whatever party that they're in, it's almost consistently those without a college education. It's the working and middle class people. It's those people who send their children to fight in our wars. It's those people who pay their taxes. It's those people who believe that this is a country to be proud of. And if we're going to stand for anything as a conservative movement, we ought to stand for them.